All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. This is I don't even know what day it is. Tuesday? Yeah, no, well, it's not Tuesday. It's Thursday. Okay. I'm telling you, you get into the filmmaking research hole, and I don't even know what day it's Thursday. Okay, Thursday, June 8th, 2017. People say that to me all the time. They're like, oh, did you have a nice weekend? I'm like, it was the weekend? And they look at me all funny. Weekend, weekday, man, it's all the same to me. It's just, you know, it's 24/7 working on this stuff. So I apologize for not knowing what fucking day it is. I say that to people all the time, like, I don't even know what day it is half the fucking time. And they think that's just like an expression because a lot of people say that. No, it really is true for me. Thursday, June 8th, 2017. All right. Well, we're here. Thanks so much for being with me for another edition of the broadcast. Got a lot to talk about with you on the show. So I'm going to do my best to get through all of it. Lots of different topics of discussion, lots to get into here. And we'll be jamming through as much as I can here for you tonight. I always think of stuff I want to talk about sometimes, and then I forget to talk about it. Not all the time, but there's some stuff. People ask me about things, and sometimes I forget to bring it up or talk about it. Been a lot of questions lately about movies, about current movies and stuff coming out. I do watch a lot. I mean, I'm a film buff, film historian. On top of being a music historian, everything else. So I know I've seen quite a bit of. There's a lot of movies. People are also asking about the Josh Watches thing we were doing. I will be doing more of that in the future. Again, just right now for the same reason why there aren't as many shows. Once I'm in the full throes of making a film and getting into getting to trying to finish something and get it all done. I don't have time very much to do this main show here, much less the other extraneous stuff like the music show and the film watching thing and stuff. But we will do more of that in the future. But I've gotten a lot of questions about movie stuff. I do my best to keep up with stuff. I don't go to the movies as much anymore as I used to. A couple times a year maybe. Certain things, but anymore, stuff comes out so quick now. I really almost just wait to watch it at home because stuff just comes out so quick. If you what I found is that if you're going to the movies all the time and you're someone who likes to watch stuff, eventually you've seen everything, because you went to the movies and saw everything. So by the time you're down the road a few months, you're looking for something to watch. By the time the only thing that's coming out are all the movies that you went and saw, so it's kind of good to not go to the movies a lot. And I think it's moving away from that anyway. They're already talking about, doing stuff, studios charging $40 or something. You get to see the movie, you download it or whatever the day it comes out. But they think they got a piracy problem on their hands now. But there's there's all kinds of stuff that comes out in these movies. I got a message from somebody last night about the Barry Seal movie coming out with, of course, Tom Cruise playing it. And of course, I didn't know that movie's been in the works for a long time. It's just now seeming like I think it was supposed to have been made a long time ago, but as often happens with these movies, they get shelved and sometimes it takes them years to come out. But yeah, of course, Scientology, Tom Cruise continuing his in the tradition of other fine CIA controlled assets who, like George Clooney, who now, how many fucking times has Clooney done a CIA movie and played a CIA agent? There's Syriana and the one we did the first the Chuck Barris flick, that, and on and on and on. And now, of course, Tom Cruise is doing that. It seems to be his thing now. And yeah, they're making a movie. Well, it's made. I guess it comes out this year. The Barry Seal story, you know, the CIA coke trafficking and Iran Contra and the rest of that stuff. But one of the things that I find interesting as far as movies and stuff, and people always ask me what I think about this movie. Oh, did you see this? This looks like it has some stuff in it you're going to want to see. Yeah, I keep pretty good track of this stuff. I mean, there are some I guess that do slip through my fingers, but oftentimes I end up finding stuff other people have never seen. If you've never seen Spellcasters 1.5, it's a particular episode of an old television show in there that has some serious information pertaining to the staged alien invasion scenario in Scientology. So again, that's as I've stated, and I've had more people make this comment again. You know, a lot of people, I guess, have thought that the Spellcasters 1.5 was like cutting room floor stuff or like Volume 1 recut. It is not that at all. It's his own standalone 76-minute, mini film. It's not a fucking 3-hour, 4-hour epic or whatever like my other films. It's hour 16 minutes. So, but it's got lots of updated stuff that if you saw Volume 1, it's going to explain and help you understand in greater detail, because it's stuff I found out since the movie came out, particularly stuff pertaining to the Free Zone, Scientology, and also some other tidbits and the only L. Ron Hubbard interviews in there. That L. Ron Hubbard interview in there, when you're watching that, you might think, why did he put this in there? It seems a little long. Well, it's the reason I put that in there is because if you edit it out, that L. Ron Hubbard thing really is, if you've been paying attention to what I've been talking about, and you've seen Spellcasters Volume 1, and you've been studying the Scientology information, if you watch that L. Ron Hubbard interview that's in Spellcasters 1.5, there is a lot in there, and I don't want to give it away, and that's why I've not talked about it a lot. But if you pay attention and you actually soldier through it, I know it's tough to hear this cocksucker talk, but if you soldier through it and you watch this stuff and you pay close attention to the detail and stuff, and you listen to what he says and weigh that against other stuff, there's some really interesting tidbits in there, particularly the stuff about going in and going on to and looking for ancient civilizations, much like Hitler. It almost seems as if, especially when you look at the timing of some of the stuff that we talked about in Spellcasters Volume 1 with the 1947, the end of World War II, 1947, and L. Ron Hubbard's work with first with the OSS, the ONI, secret operation for them, and then, of course, once the OSS and the ONI, which is the Office of Naval Intelligence, which he was also involved with. I mean, we already know, and we've established, and it's an established fact, that prior to the CIA having MK Ultra and having the ability to create mind-controlled assassins, Manchurian candidates, whatever you want to call it, the Nazis had already had this perfected, and of course, we already know who was funneling money to them. We won't mention any names of the Bush family, but they had already been using, what they were using though was this, Himmler and all those guys they were into the black magic occult rituals. Beaglesburg Castle is where they did all these dark occult rituals, the Black Sun rituals and all this stuff. And that's what they were trying to do. They were attempting to use black magic and the sort of the soul cracking techniques that L. Ron Hubbard Jr. describes in his interview in Spellcasters Volume 1. The soul cracking techniques to essentially gain control of a person by using psychological techniques that would give you access to the part of their psyche that connects to the soul and allow these, what they call thetans, demons, to come in and control that person. So they were trying to create robotically controlled assassins. This is like the proto Manchurian candidates of the Nazi version 1.0, by using LSD to get deeper into the psyche of an individual, along with the black magic and the conjuring. And this is, of course, what the United States wanted, got when they brought over. They brought all Hubert Strughold was one of the main guys that worked on this. United States brought him over during Project Paperclip and worked on the extended these. And this is, of course, where L. Ron Hubbard ties into this, because he was involved in that as well, and was then sent to. Well, they sent him to infiltrate the OTO essentially, but he ended up becoming friends with Aleister Crowley while he was there. And so once you started to have the overlapping of, well, the demonic control and also with mind control and the rest of it, this is where there started to be a shift and a change in how they were able to, anything from overthrows, government overthrows, wars, stuff like what they did, Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, the rest of it. So it appears that L. Ron Hubbard, when he, one of the things that he was doing on these ships, these big vessels, was a continuation of what Hitler had done, going to these ancient civilizations and looking at ancient civilizations for knowledge and the key to be able to bring about this ancient technology into use in the modern day, and of course use it for further control of the empire. But it's just interesting when you watch that interview with him in light of some of the things that you already know and listen to some of the stuff he says. It's really fascinating. But anyway, my point is, 1.5 is its own standalone thing, and it's not just there was so much information, there's so much new stuff, especially the free zone stuff that's come out. But anyway, that's why I put that in there. And if you've not seen that, or you've not seen Spellcaster Volume 1, I mean, you really should see those films. But so with these movies, one of the interesting things about a lot of films is that I started keying in on years ago on certain movies that get big budgets, tons of money put into them. And then when the movie's going to come out, right after it's already cut and done and ready to come out, can't be changed anymore, then this is where you start to see the big movie production companies and the studios then decide to, for whatever reason, because these films, I guess at the last minute, they contain content, they don't want exposed. You'll see these films get across the board bad reviews. They'll get very little promotion. But one of the biggest things for any of these films is the problem that we have with my films. They budget millions of dollars, $50, $100 million for these films, but they budget in the millions as well for promotion. So if a film doesn't get promoted right and it tanks because of that and gets bad reviews, it's not an accident. And it's one of the things I started keying in on years ago, because I started noticing that, because I myself was guilty of this in the past. I think everybody's been guilty of this. You read these reviews just like you read news. You would go to the news back before a lot of us had figured out all this stuff was, BS like we have now. But what I'm saying is, just like you used to think of the news, you used to look at the news and think, okay, I'm going to actually get informed, and then you figure out that's not the case, and it's controlled. And the same thing happens with these movies, but if you hear a movie is not good or whatever, that's usually all it takes. You put a few bad reviews out there, and people are not going to go see a movie. But I started noticing that a lot of these movies that this happens to, not every time, but there was at least enough cases of it you could name to make it warrant discussing. And that is that a lot of these movies that get big budgets put behind them oftentimes have things in them, informational type things, hidden and encoded and put in there with intent that the studios didn't exactly know about. Because the studios, man, they work with so many billions of dollars and so many films and this, that, and the other. And they work with directors, have track records with this, that, and the other. They have people on site, but they really oftentimes don't know what's going to be in a film. Some of them do. Now you have, other cases where you're going to have these guys that actually want this stuff in there and it's deliberate program. And these guys, yes, you have that too. But there are cases where certain things get put into movies and the powers that be are not happy with it. So they intentionally tank these movies. I'll tell you a good example was the film John Carter. Which of course was written by the guy with Edgar Rice Burroughs, who did Tarzan and he created Tarzan, and one of the pioneers of science fiction, really Star Wars and tons of every other. That movie should have been made. They should have made. I guess they didn't have the technology, but they should have made those movies long before they made any of the other sci-fi stuff. Because by the time they got around to making that movie, everybody's already seen Star Wars, everybody's seen Star Trek, everybody's seen, whatever, everything else. So 2001: A Space Odyssey. But interestingly, I noticed, and I said, they spent a god-awful amount of money on that movie, man, like $100 million, $200 million, $500 million. It was an ungodly amount of money. And it actually, here's what's interesting about the movie. Let me go look up the official numbers on this again, because it's very interesting. Because most of the time, this is how studios, if a movie brings in more than it costs to make, then it's considered a success. If it doesn't bring in as much as it costs to make, it's considered a failure. Now, I started noticing this, the most harshest treatment I'd ever seen for something like this was this movie, John Carter. And I'll admit, when I first saw the previews of it, I wasn't interested in going to see it either. I won't lie, didn't look appealing to me. But it became appealing to me when I started hearing people who did go and see it, who said they enjoyed it and it was really good. And they told me things about it that sounded good. And then I started seeing, first the reviews came out were good, and then all of a sudden it was a bomb. Oh, that movie was terrible. It bombed. They kept saying bomb, bomb, bomb. John Carter, it was a bomb. Well, let me read you the official numbers here. Okay, so it cost $250 million to make, right? And the box office was $284.1 million. It's the fourth most expensive film ever made. But again, the criteria in movies, I've seen movies that even only make $1 million, like they spent $10 million to make it, but they made $11 million. That's considered a successful movie. How much over it makes is not of importance to the studios. They don't care. What's important to the studios is that it makes money, even if it's $500,000, even if whatever, as long as it makes more than it costs to make the film, then it's considered a success. So John Carter made $284.1 million at the box office, but the budget was $250 million, and it was still called a bomb and a flop and an unsuccessful movie. And they decided, they actually had it mapped out that was going to be, they were going to make a trilogy out of it. It was going to be a big thing. And I remember reading interviews and stuff at the time where people just couldn't figure out why it kept constantly being called a flop. And then I watch it, and of course, the first thing I noticed was when they're in the cave, like the transport cave, and there's like a device, and it has fucking Sumerian writing on it, man. And I started figuring this out. I started watching, it's like, especially the stuff with the guy, I forget the guy's name, the actor, he's crazy, creepy dude. I think he was also in the Kick-Ass movie, maybe. But anyway, that film is full of tons of like insider type stuff. And that's one of the things I've seen. Now, not in every case does that happen, but I mean, I've seen cases like this where movies where I hear a movie's going to come out, and then, expect it to do good, and then it tanks. And then it kind of instinctively now makes me go, oh, well, then now I need to check that out. I'll tell you another case in point. This was a movie that came out a couple months ago, I think, called The Circle. And it had Tom Hanks and Emma Watson, I think, yeah, Hermione. And, you know, I mean, if there's anything if there aren't many things in Hollywood, there aren't many things in films that are sure things. But one of the most sure things that Hollywood's been able to count on for many, many years is a Tom Hanks movie. We'll get to Tom Cruise in a minute. Yeah, Tom Hanks movies. I mean, if you get a Tom Hanks movie, it's going to be a guaranteed win. That's that's been the thinking. And as soon as that movie came out, I didn't see any previews or anything for it. I just heard it was coming out. As soon as the movie came out, it tanked. And I saw an article that said something about has Tom Hanks lost his magic touch or something. And I said, oh, well, maybe I should check this movie out. Maybe the theory applies here. And no sooner than I thought that, it was like within a couple of hours. Another one of those synchronistic things that happens during research. I had a listener email me and say, hey, have you heard of this film, The Circle? And I was sitting there going, oh, yeah, I think I have heard of that. Because I did at the time, wasn't when I got asked this, I wasn't putting it together with the Tom Hanks thing yet. And they're like, it looks like it might have some Scientology stuff in it. I wonder what you think about it. So I went out and saw it. And it got really shit reviews, and it tanked. It didn't make any money. But I was thinking, well, maybe because they anyway, the movie sucked. It sucked donkey dick, and there wasn't really much of anything. There was some stuff in there. There was some little things in there that were absolutely, but the movie wasn't like that Hulu show, The Path, where obviously clearly that's a reference to Scientology. But with this movie, The Circle, it was more like they took like the cult of the brand type mentality. You know what I mean? Like people have with Apple products and Nike and Google and all this. So it's kind of like they took Google and Apple and Scientology and mixed it up in a big pot and made this thing called The Circle, like this technology thing. There were a couple little things in there I did pick up on. Like they call this thing called, kind of like going clear. They call it going transparent. And when you go transparent, it means basically that like everything, you're 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Your life is like you have cameras on you, and everything you do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is transparent. Your whole history, your browsing, everything you're wide open, and anybody and everybody in the whole world can see it and watch your video feed 24 hours a day. They call it going transparent and stuff. And also, the Tom Hanks character, he had his second in command underling guy played by Patton Oswalt, who really, if you've studied Scientology and you've studied these guys, he really, really strongly resembled Mike Render, Dave Miscavige's former second in command, the guy who's now on the Leah Remini show. His mannerisms, there's no way in hell that Patton Oswalt, I'd love to see if he would admit this, but there's no way in hell you'll convince me Patton Oswalt didn't study Mike Render for that role, because his facial expressions, his mannerisms, it's like he's mimicking him. That's one thing I noticed that stuck out to me the biggest about that movie. But that movie sucked shit through a fucking dickhole. Let me tell you. I mean, it was terrible. I don't know who. I mean, it was based on a book. Maybe the book is good, but whoever wrote the screenplay and did the writing on this was pure shit. It was all over the place. It was completely disjointed and unorganized. The characters were poorly written, especially the Tom Hanks character, who was supposed to be. There was no discernible plot. Let me just put it to you like that. There was no discernible plot to this thing. There was no reason for you to even. They never made a case for why Tom Hanks, who was supposedly, I guess, the bad guy, But they never told you anything really bad that he really did. Most of the stuff that you see him do is just like, the creepy surveillance stuff, But they never made him out. He was never kind of made out to be a bad guy. And Emma Watson, I mean, literally, this is how, I don't know who made the decision to write this and cut it like this. She's down in there's literally just a scene. She's down in a subterranean fucking underground server facility with the what was the guy, John Bogoya, the black kid from the new Star Wars films. He works at the Circle or whatever, but he's like in the inner circle, but he's kind of like not on the inner circle. But again, they don't give you enough information about any of these characters for you to really even care. It was significant, though, was Bill Paxton's final performance on screen, so it was good to see him there again since he passed away recently. But so she's in this subterranean thing talking to John Bogoya, and he's, telling her about all this stuff. Oh, and they're going to watch you, and they want to watch everybody, and it's this, that, and the other. He doesn't really say why it's bad. He just says that's what they're doing. And then, I kid you not, in the very next scene, and I think they do this 2, maybe 3 times in the movie, in the very next scene, here's Hermione Granger, who's, down there in one scene finding out about all this stuff the Circle's doing. And then in the very next scene, I kid you not, it's the very next day and she's at work. And she's pitching ideas on how they can make it even worse. And then they go back to, oh, God, this is terrible and this is bad. And then the next scene, I've got an idea. How about I'll be the person to go transparent? It made no sense. There was no plot. It went nowhere. There wasn't but again, there were some little things in there that absolutely you would say, okay, yeah, they're making a sort of an amalgamation of Apple and Google and Scientology. But it was like a thing at the very beginning at the very beginning of the movie, she first goes to work for the company, and it kind of gives you the vibe of an auditing session. If you've ever seen what the Scientology auditing sessions are like, it kind of gave you the vibe of that. So it was definitely, I think whoever made the movie, the guy was definitely probably hinting at that. But she's seated across from somebody. It looks very much like an auditing situation where you're seated across from someone, you have to look, and they look you dead in the eye, and you have to look them dead in the eye, and they ask you these crazy rando questions, and then they monitor what the e-meter does when it moves. And that, so he was firing off these rando questions like that, like he was trying to gauge a certain response to see what she would say. And I forget what the question was. It was something, I don't know whether it was favorite Beatle or maybe it was favorite Beatle. Who's your favorite Beatle? And her answer was Old Paul, later John. And apparently that was the right answer, and I thought that was interesting. So, and I was like, I caught it immediately. I mean, as soon as you said it, I said, that's like a Fall reference. Immediately I caught that. Think about that, because if you think about it, she's absolutely right, but why is she absolutely right? Because the early Paul, before he did, that's when he did his best stuff. The early John stuff, not that great. Then, they switch out with the new Paul, Fall. And then, of course, after that, that's when you started to see John stuff just from, the later Beatles stuff all the way through to his solo stuff go up. So, yeah, there was definitely some stuff in there. And the newest one, I don't know if this has come out yet or it's about to come out. Maybe it's come out overseas and maybe it's going to come out here soon. I'm not for sure. Maybe it came out this weekend. I don't know. Curse of the Crummy Mummy, buried in cliches as old as the pyramids. Tom Cruise's monstrous remake is beyond redemption. Hot on the heels of Wonder Woman comes The Mummy, about a vengeful ancient Egyptian princess who was woken up from the dead 5,000 years after being mummified alive. That makes it an all-female battle for supremacy at the box office, which The Mummy deserves to lose. Bandage hands down. We all like a few hieroglyphics with our hokum, but this isn't too much. But this is too much. An absolute barrage of digitally enhanced silliness that not even Tom Cruise or Russell Crowe can save. Well, I think anybody probably could have told you that. I think maybe saw a preview of this and was like, oh, this looks like, this looks like smoking bad. It looks like something I'll probably skip. But again, I said, I had that feeling today when I was reading this. It says, however, there are some undeniably slick action scenes, some great stunts, and for amateur Egyptologists, all the cliches you hold most dear. Sarcophagi, scarab rings, sphinxes, amulets, pyramids, the lot. Again, I was like, okay, I wonder if this has got some shit in it. Knowing what it's, I mean, once you, I hope, and I know a lot of you are, I know, because I get your emails and I get your messages on Facebook and stuff, so I know you are, but, once you receive this Scientology stuff for what it is, and you see how far-reaching their control is, and that, along with her collaboration with the CIA, you just can almost see it coming a mile away. So again, I saw the previews for this. Looks like a piece of shit. I'll probably skip it. Again, that was the same thought I have had for John Carter. And then this review comes out. And then I said, well, what is the synopsis on this? And I'm kind of looking and I went, oh, shit. Yet again. Now, this does not mean I'm going to rush out and fucking see this, but again, it shows me yet again that I was right. I absolutely correct. Yes. Listen to this. It says Tom Cruise plays Nick Morton, a soldier with a U.S. reconnaissance unit in modern-day Iraq, who exploits his position to steal ancient artifacts and sell them on the black market. Well, holy fuck, ladies and gentlemen, how many years since the very beginning have I been covering that? The invasion of the Iraq National Museum in 2003, after the invasion, where they went in and specifically they blew the doors off the vault, special forces. There are actual video footage of them in the vaults. And they went and stole all the ancient Sumerian artifacts pertaining to the Sumerian, Akkadian, Babylonian civilizations. And many of them turned up on the black market. And a lot of them turned up in Rome, coincidentally, at the Vatican. I don't know if that's a coincidence. And then some of them were found on the side of the road. There was a bag full of Sumerian clay cylinder seals found on the side of the road near a military base in North Carolina in like 2005. So here's, again, fictionalizing the truth. So the truth seems like fiction, like I always say. Here's Tom Cruise playing a U.S. reconnaissance unit, modern-day Iraq. What in Iraq specifically, what are they stealing there? Of course, the ancient Sumerian and Anunnaki-type artifacts, who exploits his position to steal ancient artifacts and sell them on the black market. Following a bombing mission against insurgents, the desert dust gives way to reveal the burial chamber of Princess Amenet, which, in one of several nods to the Indiana Jones movies, is guarded by thousands of scuttling spiders. It's also of great interest to a sexy archaeologist called Jenny Hazley. She is wise to Nick's shady activities because they've recently had a one-night stand in Baghdad during which he sneakily raided her belongings. But she is soon in his debt shortly before their transporter plane crashes over Surrey, of all places, and with Amenet's sarcophagus on board, Nick saves her life by hooking her up to the aircraft's only parachute and pushing her out. So, interesting. It's interesting. I mean, I know this film's going to be a total piece of shit, but it does make you wonder if, if that had any bearing on them creating, or pushing for there to be bad reviews written about this movie. I haven't seen a lot of promotion for it, honestly, but I don't know. But it's one of those great examples of where you see stuff that gets put into these movies that is very much mirroring actual real stuff and stuff that people sometimes consider in the realm of conspiracy theory. And then lo and behold, those movies are quick to get bad reviews. They're quick to get shut down. so that they don't reach a large mass of audience of people that they would. So anyway, it's a fascinating thing to see, and it's happened enough times now, and it continues to happen that I wanted to bring it up. And of course, people always ask me about movies and whatnot. So there you go. All right, we got a lot of news here, so let's we're going to be getting into all this. I want to first, I want to thank everybody out there who supported our work last month and helped us make it to this month. We wouldn't be able to be here without you. I want to give you some updates on our current fundraising activities. We have 1 day left to go on our Spellcasters Volume 2 fundraiser. We only have $700 left to go. If we get 100 people, or 7 people donating $100, we can stay on course. I'm working like a slave, of course, like I've told you, to get this film done. I'm trying to stay on course. I'm looking at having it out by the end of July, 1st of August at the latest. But I mean, we're just, I've been doing this. I'm grateful to everybody out there who has contributed what we've gotten so far. It's come in, it's kind of strange. We never, with this film, like in past films, we've gotten our films funded and we have the set budget and we work from that or whatever. With this film, it's been totally different. We never got the whole amount in that we needed, but we just got little bits at a time. And so I've been working that way. But the fact of the matter is, I've gone as far with that as I can. And now that I have no budget left to work with and I have $700 left to go, I can't, really get anything else done because we've got more, more effects, plugins, and software stuff we got to buy. We've got more footage we got to license. There's just expenses keep coming and coming and coming for this thing, and it becomes a much larger film. And not having any kind of amount of budget to work on, even though I'm a one-man operation, it's still, there are operational costs and whatnot and stuff that occurs to make these films. It's just the way it is. So here's what we need. We need to raise the rest of that amount in the next 24 hours or before this ends. It's got 1 day to go. Ends tomorrow, feasibly by tomorrow. But really, we also need to raise a minimum of $200 by Friday to cover the the rest of the operating costs that we have. We have stuff that comes up this time of month. We have expenses that come out for the internet bill and the hosting of the archives and the hosting of the download shop and all this stuff. They take a percentage then, and then they take a percentage towards the middle of the month as well, and that always comes out. And we've been really kind of working on a shoestring here since we got all the other main operating costs covered last week. So that's where we're at, and we just need a minimum of $200 in the next 24 hours for that. But really, the main problem is right now is just not having the rest of the budget that we need for this film. We got $700 left to go on that. Really, if we could just get that in, that would be great. But if we could only get $200 in, that would be a help too. But really, we've got so many people out there, again, as I've stated, that are listening, and to not even have 1% of our listening on and support our work. And I've said it and I've said it again, but get ready, because very soon, the only way you're going to be able to listen to this show and listen to the complete shows is to have a membership to our archives, which you can get now at my website, theglobalreality.com. I'm giving you fair warning. It's coming, and it's coming soon, in the next week. So, I've tried to be nice. I've tried to do this other ways, but if I keep giving everything away, it gives people no reason to support our work, and I'm just not going to do it anymore. I thank everybody out there, suggestions they've made and stuff to me for doing it that way, and I'm gonna do it that way. I'm also going to be on the Richie in Boston show on tomorrow, so you can tune over there and check it out. I don't even like telling people when I'm going to be on shows like that anymore, doing interviews, especially people who listen to my show all the time, because they put all these bullshit expectations on me, and I get a little sick of it. Oh, I didn't like you on the interview on that show. It was all stuff I already knew. Right, because you've been listening to my fucking show because you're a junkie for my fucking info. People, I'm telling you, man, people act like junkies for when I'm like, if I'm not on air and I'm working on a film, people like send me these crazy, I need your info. Blah. Like, calm the fuck down, dude. Take a Zoloft or something. Jesus. Really, the people get fucking psycho. I'm not exaggerating. I mean, they really do. It's like they fiend for it, like it's crack. It's insane. They fiend for that shit. I need it. Oh, God. But yeah, all the fiending people aside. I mean, I don't know. I get these comments sometimes. I go do an interview and people are like, "Oh, you just talked about the stuff. I've heard all that stuff." Well, you understand, when I go on a fucking show to be interviewed, I'm not going on there to provide you who's listened to everything I've done with. I mean, it's not going to be the same stuff. It's not going to be new stuff every time, dude. I just want to put that out there for people. I let it go for a long time, but like the last round of interviews I did, I kept getting people saying that. I'm like, well, look, you got to understand, when I go on a show, the majority of the audience listening has no idea who I am and has no idea about my information or anything at all. So if I go on there and start talking about stuff like they should already know what I'm talking about, then they're not going to, you're just going to tune out. You know what I mean? So, again, I apologize that not every radio interview I do can be, 100%, but really it comes down to the host. It's you got to give it to them. I mean, it shows. Most interviews I've ever done have been good or bad based on the host. Whether or not they're informed about the topic or the info or my stuff. That the interviews can vary widely. So, anyway, I'll be on the Richie and Boston show tomorrow, and at least Richie watches the films. He buys them himself and watches them and actually knows about the info and is into it. I've literally, we've had interviewers, man, they're having me on for 2 hours to talk about a movie they didn't watch. It's like, how can you ask questions about something that you didn't even bother watching? It's just ridiculous. I can't even believe that people do that. But anyway, I'll be on there tomorrow. Let's see what other news we've got here. Fight over land in Florida between Church of Scientology and city. In the picturesque city of Clearwater, the Church of Scientology had offered $15 million to buy a small parcel of land. Instead, the owner sold it for a fraction, $4.25 million. That's it. That's the whole story. One sentence was the whole. Unbelievable. That's what passes as fucking news these days. So essentially, so let me elaborate on that. Okay, so Scientology wanted to buy a piece of land. They offered $15 million for it, but the owner actually took $4.25 billion for it, just not to sell it to them. Ooh, savage burn. That's it. That's the whole fucking news story. Jesus, I apologize for that, but this is not my fault. I thought it was going to be some kind of a substantial article, not one sentence. They could have at least made the article like, if I ran a news outlet, this is what that headline would say. It would say, property owner tells Scientology to go fuck themselves. Take less than half or more than half of. Well, that's 3 times less. Takes 3 times less the amount than was offered. That's what I would have said. And then it would have said, Florida property owner today who was offered $15 million to sell a parcel of land to the Church of Scientology, in so many words, told them to go fuck themselves and sold it to somebody else for $4 million. Property owner was quoted as saying, "I'll sell it to the Queen of England before I sell it to those Xenu cocksuckers." News at 11. Will an asteroid hit Earth? Czech scientists warn of growing risk. This article was posted by Newsweek magazine and then severely retracted and erased. And I I find it interesting that it's been erased, and aside from like news aggregator websites and stuff, it's been almost completely eradicated. But that's one of the things that I think we haven't seen yet, pertaining to the whole staged alien invasion scenario. Specifically, how pertaining to things Wonderful von Braun talked about. First, the threat would be communism, then terrorism, third world crazies, then asteroids, space rocks, and then the alien car. But that would be a lie. For the installation of these space-based weapons, they could then, once the threat is allegedly neutralized, they can then point directly back down on Earth and down at citizens. So it's interesting to see that this stuff ramping up. But I also think that the powers that be also do have information about these cyclical events. I've talked about these cyclical events many times. It's clear that the ancients knew about it, but when I see something like this, it's interesting to see something that for a fact ties into their agenda, and then start to see it scrubbed or erased. Now, if you've got fake news or debatable info or whatever, and something gets scrubbed, okay, it makes sense. But this seems to fall under the category of, again, too much truth or too much something getting out. It could possibly be that there are threats that they're aware of for these rocks that they're hiding from the public in order to, not cause a panic or markets to collapse. Everything is about keeping their system that they've put in place, perpetuating itself indefinitely. A group of astronomers from the Czech Academy of Sciences analyzed 144 bodies, large meteors that exploded into the atmosphere from the Taurids, and found a new branch. They worked alongside researchers from Austria and Slovakia to compile a study. Two asteroids called 2015 TX24 and 2005 UR are a member of this new, previously undiscovered branch. Both of these objects are on the International Astronomical Union's. I hate when that happens. It just makes me sound like I'm stopping or I'm pausing. The fucking page refreshed on me while I'm reading. I hate that. It drives me nuts. It's the worst thing about trying to read news on the air. Fucking page auto refreshes on you while you're in the middle of a sentence, and then it makes it sound like you're stuttering or stammering or stopping or something. It pisses me off. So let me start all over. Two asteroids called 2015 TX24 and 2005 UR are members of this new, previously undiscovered branch. Both of these objects are on the International Astronomical Union's list of potentially hazardous asteroids. They're estimated to be between 220 to 330 yards in diameter. The title of the study describes the new branch of the Taurid meteoroid stream as a real source of potentially hazardous bodies. Okay, so this is okay. Yeah, so that makes more sense now. This probably does fall into that category. This is newly found discovered stuff of potentially hazardous asteroids. The powers that be haven't had time to. This information was able to reach the media and get out before they could shut it down or gatekeep it, so to speak. So yeah, because when you see something like that on Newsweek and it just disappears, completely scrubbed and erased. Each year in late October, early November, Earth passes through the Taurids left behind by the comet Enki, but not spelled like Enki and Enlil, but spelled E-N-C-K-E. But how else would you pronounce that? This results in the Taurids meteor shower. The new branch that Czech astronomers have been monitoring is made up of objects moving together around the sun. It belongs to the southern Taurids. Every few years, the Earth is exposed to the new branch for about 3 weeks. So every few years we're exposed to, okay. So in that particular branch, then, they found some potentially hazardous stuff. Most probably the branch also includes many undetected asteroids, which are dozens of meters in diameter or larger. During this period, the probability of a collision with a larger object is markedly higher. These asteroids are fragile, but the possibility exists that they may penetrate the atmosphere and seriously collide with the Earth. The danger of a crash with an asteroid grows every few years when the Earth encounters this new branch. So Again, that's what Warner von Braun predicted, that we would be sold on the idea of weaponizing space and doing away with all these space weapons treaties in order to, they would sell the people on the idea that near Earth objects and asteroids and stuff are a threat, and we need to assemble these space-based weapons. And if people didn't get behind that or think it was a serious enough threat to do it, and you had a UN panel on near Earth objects that was formed 7 or 8 years ago. You've had a lot of talk. There's been a lot of media coverage about this, but I'll be honest with you, people, whether by their own sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Apathy, their own sort of apathy or apathetic attitude towards it, whether it's that or whether it is because and I probably think it's a mixture of both, or whether it is because of cover-ups and them trying to keep this information from the public. It's not working. Either way, I mean, have you heard any big... other than they've talked about stupid shit like they want to go and harness an asteroid or something and bring it close to Earth so they can mine it and all this bullshit. But they haven't really pushed the idea to us too hard that asteroids and extinction level space rocks are something that we should be that concerned about. But then again, he was making those predictions and talking about that in the 1970s. Many people have said that the Reagan stuff, the Star Wars initiatives, that was the first sort of move towards that. But we know they've had space-based weapons up there for many, many years already in secret. So it is possible that, since the time of von Braun, they've reversed the thinking and instead have put these space-based laser systems and weapon systems up there. I think it's probably why there's been an increase in all the fireballs, meteorite activity that's gone on in the past 10 years. It's just been off the charts. More space rocks and stuff coming down than ever. Whether that's indeed space rocks or the effects of an already ongoing space war up in space, which a lot of people believe is already going on, been going on for many years, and I've seen some evidence I would say supports that, at least to a certain degree. But again, at this point, they could have just put those weapons up there, but eventually they're going to need a way. It's going to have to come into the public knowledge that those things are up there, and they're probably going to want to put bigger and more effective systems up there in order to get the funding for some of that stuff. They probably are going to need to sell the public on a cause, but I don't know. It's hard to say. It could go either way. We don't really know at this point whether or not, they are intentionally keeping this stuff from us or already mitigating this stuff and what we're seeing falling out of the sky. I think there's a lot of evidence towards that, video evidence and stuff from a lot of these. Remember that Russian, what was the Chelyabinsk or one of those? I mean, that was clearly, they were shooting down something there. But that would, that's something, again, that's something you'd want to keep from the general public. Mound Builders, Ancient Architects of North America. A new exhibition is opening June 24th at the Penn Museum in Philadelphia. Tells the sometimes enigmatic story of more than 5,000 years of Native American mound building through photographs, archival excavation records, and more than 60 artifacts excavated at mound sites throughout the eastern United States. The exhibit runs through December of 2017. Man, I'd like to go. I'd like to go to that. Get a chance to go check that out. Go check it out. What else we got here? Well, the biggest news. I know everybody's listening, waiting to see when I'm going to bring this up. Yes, indeed. The biggest, and I got to tell you, this is no bullshit. Just last week, when I was working on the film, and of course, this gentleman is in the film. We've got information pertaining to this gentleman, as I've talked about recently here on the show, in the Spellcasters Volume 2. I guess it was last week when Zabridny Brzezinski died. And I was working on Spellcasters 2. I remember thinking for a second, man, I bet that Khashoggi guy, Adnan Khashoggi, I bet he's going to kick the bucket soon. He's old. He's got to be dying sometime soon. Motherfucker. Boy, that was quick. I mean, that was fucking last week I thought that. Man, I need something like that. I think that I'm going to get a large donation in the next 24 hours. I'm going to start doing that, saying that kind of stuff. Because, man, boy, I tell you what, I'm starting to nail some of this other stuff. I mean, here it is. Everybody's been freaking out over this. Adnan Khashoggi, the whoremonger whose arms deals funded a Playboy life of decadence and pleasure wives, died peacefully at the age of 82. Yeah, well, he didn't deserve to die peacefully. He should die screaming in hell, cocksucker. But I shit you not, it wasn't even 3 or 4 days at the most. Maybe 2 days. I was thinking, I bet that motherfucker's going to die soon. Boom! So, man, we've had a good run lately, haven't we? When did Phyllis Schlafly die? Was that last year? David Rockefeller? Zabridny Brzezinski? It's going to be interesting to see, because I have a prediction. I think this is going. It's going to be very interesting to see. I mean, this guy was connected to so many of the major players in the world power structure, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, if anybody was on the inside, and the CIA connected to the hilt as well, Iran-Contra, 9/11, JFK, I mean, just you name it. This guy's been involved in it. So, and all the stuff I've documented in his connections to GCN and Alex Jones and the whole model of the snake oil cells that the Power Hour used, it was taken from the Khashoggi model. It's going to be interesting. All of these Genesis Intermedia Company things were all CIA front organizations that were used for money laundering for weapons from the, not just from Iran-Contra, but other, CIA weapons deals and whatnot. It's going to be interesting to see. I predict I don't know how soon this will happen. Maybe in the, could be days, weeks, months, a year. I don't know. But I predict that this, the death of Adnan Khashoggi is going to have ripples and effects that you're going to see become evident in these CIA front organizations like Genesis Intermedia, Genesis Communications, the rest of the stuff. I think it's going to have implications, and I think because, I mean, the fact of the matter is, usually when this stuff happens, when the main guy connected to the CIA front organization, they shut the whole thing down. So you very well may in the coming months, just you remember I said this and keep an eye on this stuff, but look for changes or a shift in operations with Alex Jones and Genesis Communications Radio Network. Pay attention to these things. I predict we're going to start to see some things change and shift now that he's out of the picture. Power shift's going to happen. Certain front organizations and whatnot are going to get shut down. New data and information that, couldn't be muttered or put out there while he was alive is going to come out. It's going to be very interesting to see the fallout and see what happens from this, because I guarantee you there's going to be fallout from this. The guy was too big of a player from not to be. And yeah, one of our listeners said, oh, they just make him sound like he's just some nice business guy. Of course. I mean, when you got that high clearance and those same people that give you that clearance also control the news, then of course they're going to write a little puff piece that doesn't expose any of the things he was connected to that connect him to them. But rotten hell, you piece of shit. God damn. What a cocksucker. I wonder how old Pegleg's feeling about this. I bet she's feeling pretty good about it since he fucking took her fucking leg. Motorcycle accident, my ass. Whack. Took that shit. I saw this thing going around on Facebook. It's funny, you have people who anything that disagrees with their phony left or phony right political beliefs. We now live in this time where anything that anybody doesn't agree with or challenges their belief is just written off as fake news. And people throwing that term around 24/7. But yet, people continue to post fake stuff all the time because they don't bother to go and check it themselves, and then they just take it and believe it to be true. This is one, I guess this kind of hit home for me personally because it hit my zodiac sign. But there was this thing going around. I saw multiple people post this on Facebook. There was an article that said, according to the FBI, some astrological signs are more likely to commit crimes than others. And it was this whole thing about, and you had to go through and read it, and it got down to the point say, oh, this zodiac sign is this, and it gets down to the bottom, and it says that cancers, I'm a Cancer, that cancers are most likely to be murderers, criminals, killers, all this stuff than any other zodiac sign. And if you know anything about zodiac signs, it doesn't make any kind of fucking sense that it would be Cancers. Maybe crazy Geminis or Scorpios or whatever. Anyway, I've seen this passed around and taken as the gospel, and seen Cancers, people like myself, being chastised for it. And of course, it turns out to be total fucking horseshit, hogwash. So if you were stupid enough and had such little discernment, if you're one of those people that posted this on Facebook and went and, chided Cancers for it, go apologize to those people, and also go and delete this off your fucking page. Anyway, the FBI was contacted to determine whether any such research had ever been undertaken by that agency concerning zodiac signs and criminality. The Bureau informed us that all information of that nature was freely available on their website for anything under zodiac. But then they got contacted again and said, no, we cannot confirm we have any information confirming any study of zodiac signs or killers or serial killers contributing to higher rates of criminality. So it never happened. They never did a study on that. It's total horseshit. But, somebody's ex-boyfriend who was psycho may have been a Cancer. So now women or whoever are posting this saying, oh, look, all Cancers are psycho and crazy. The FBI says it's real. Right. So the FBI is a liar every other time, right? But when they say something that lines, I love that how people do that. They do that with NASA too. NASA is full of shit, but as soon as they say something that lines up with aliens or Anunnaki, then NASA's the truth. Yeah. Tool frontman Maynard James Keenan says Trump is not your enemy. Your enemy is ignorance. Oh, God. Maynard James Keenan, he takes a cake, doesn't he? I love Tool. Don't get me wrong. I love Danny Carey. He's one of my favorite drummers of all time. But, boy, I got to tell you, the undisputed heavyweight champion douchebag of all music. Well, I don't know. He might fight a close second to, like, the dude from Nickelback or Scott Stapp or something. But I don't know. It's going to be, it's a tough call. But he's one of the undisputed reigning king douchebags of music. Maynard James Keenan really is. So, of course, anything that dude says, what a douche. Go sell your Caduceus Illuminati wine, buddy. You seem to want to do that more than you want to make music with Tool anymore, Oh, but we got another Perfect Circle album, another Perfect Circle tour. Ugh, they're terrible. Terrible. Pussifer, bleh, terrible. That dude needs to crawl out of his own asshole for once. What a fucking moron. People act like that dude's some kind of like intellectual genius. The guy's a fucking idiot. A lottery winner. He's a fucking lottery winner. That's what he is. Oliver Stone, exclusive access, exclusive interview with Vladimir Putin, huh? Huh. No, that wouldn't validate any of my work or research, now would it? No, not at all. I told you in the spellcasters. One about Stone's connection to Scientology and CIA and the rest of that. Now here he is smiling and laughing with Putin. I can't wait to watch this interview next week. I saw a clip from it. Putin's in full-blown Thetan mode. Look at that guy. That's a classic example of somebody who's fully controlled by demonic entities. But yes, thank you, Oliver Stone, for again proving me correct and showing my connections there. And it's unbelievable. Insane stuff. All right, folks, I'm going to leave it there for you for tonight. I appreciate everybody tuning in, being with me. I love each and every one of you out there, and proud to stand with you in trying to expose this stuff. And I just got to get back to work. But again, we can't do any of this without your help. None of this is possible without you. And, in order to get this fucking film, Spellcaster 2, which is going to be 2 films in one in 4+ hours, we got to have a budget. And we've got, at least a minimum of 200 in here by tomorrow. But if we could raise the entire amount, we only have 700 left for our Spellcasters Volume 2 fundraiser. That's going to ensure, if we can raise that in the next 24 hours, that will ensure we'll stay on course. We'll be able to get this film out by the end of July, 1st of August, somewhere in there, and not push it back any further, because we can't push it back. We pushed it back, but anymore, we cannot push it back. Otherwise, it's going to come out later, and that's going to throw our whole game off, because I've got to get this film out and get it done by then, so I could stay on course for our 10-year anniversary stuff we're going to have going on in September, which is going to coincide with a massive 10-year anniversary box set with all my films and stuff. So lots to do, but we can't do it without you. TheGlobalReality.com is our website. You can also check the comments and the read more section of this video for links to the fundraisers. You can find them on our social media pages at Facebook, the Global Reality Radio Network page, and the Josh Reeves Filmmaker Talk Show Host Explorer page. Links to our fundraising pages are up there. You can also use the donate button in my site, TheGlobalReality.com. If you don't want to use a PayPal account, you can use a credit card, debit card, or a prepaid card that you can buy at a pharmacy or a gas station. And you can enter the information in there. And if you want to have a regular contribution to our work that comes out of your account monthly, below the donate button, there's a thing. It's like says Go Reality subscriber donation thing. What the subscriber donation is that you can set any amount you want. There's predefined amounts, 100, 500, 1,000, whatever you want. You can cancel it at any time, but you can set that so that every month you have a set donation that comes out. Like if you did it on today, the 8th, then on the 8th of every month, that same amount of contribution would come out of your account until you cancel it. And that enables you to be able to make a contribution and not have to come back, if you forget to come back or don't want to come back and make, but you want to contribute the same amount every month, you can do it that way. So I wanted to let people know about that, because I don't feel I tell people about that enough. We don't do mail order stuff. We don't have a P.O. box. There's plenty of ways you can contribute online or buy films online and stuff like that with a prepaid card that you can get without having to have a bank account. So no, we don't do snail mail. We don't do it. Period. End of story. So don't email me and ask me about that anymore. All right. We'll see you next time. Take care.